got a great show for you today, and even if your friend smuggled you in the trunk, you can still be part of it.
And who knows, you might even win our big prize, Perry's or my voice on your voicemail. Or you might end up not getting out of the trunk. But that's between you and your friends.
It's been another crazy year in fandom.
Everyone has a podcast, a streaming service, or both.
Speaking of which, if you represent Casper, Squarespace, or Allbirds, see us after the show. In the meantime, listen closely for your name. If we call it, you're up. Dean, who's our first contestant?
Our first contestant is Juan San Miguel, our good friend Juan San Miguel. Come on up, Juan.
Might have to leave my get buzz.
Well, you ain't got buzzed last night, and he didn't leave, so. Alrighty. And let me go ahead and introduce you to our panel. First, welcome back the author of books such as Rise of the House of Immor, Shadow Guide, Richard Lee Byers. Next, half of this year's guest of honor, author most recently of the upcoming Desert Cursed series finale, Emperor's Throne, Shannon Mayer. Longtime panelist at Stonehill and host of Sci-Fi Name That Tune, Chris Harbin. And finally, our Not My Job guest, LARP Chief Jack Faber. Thank you all so much for joining us this year. Juan, we're inviting you here to play a game called Who's Dean This Time? Dean will perform 3 quotes from this year's Fandom News. If you can identify or explain any 2 of the quotes, you'll win our prize. Are you ready to play?
Ready?
Good, because it'd be awkward if you weren't. Here we go.
I don't see them. I tried, you know, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being.
That was acclaimed film director Martin Scorsese discussing what blockbuster genre of movie?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe, or superhero movies in general.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Oh, I need to get my phone out. Don't deny it, though. You'd love to see Super Goodfellas Rise the Taxi Driver. We've gone high-tech with the call bell this year. Let's move on.
Next quote. The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based on data from the open beta and other adjustments made to the milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion that the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media sites. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can. Damn it, that was a long quote.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was What Gaming Company earning itself the unfortunate Guinness record for most downvoted comment in Reddit history.
I don't know who puts out Week on Gaming. I don't know who puts out World of Warcraft. That's what you're talking about. I'll have to pass.
Okay, that was Electronic Arts. It got 683,000 votes. The second worst, only 88,906. We hope EA feels a sense of pride and accomplishment for earning backlash. Dean, take us out of here full speed ahead.
What was the game?
Okay, never mind, I'm sorry.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
What? Oh, thank you.
Battlefront 2 is the game.
Sources say the Star 23 made multiple appeals to Disney chairman and CEO Bob Iger and Sony film chairman Tom Rothman to reach a resolution.
That was the Hollywood Reporter discussing star Tom Holland's apparent behind-the-scenes intercession to keep what superhero coming to theaters near you?
Spider-Man.
That is right. Tom, if you're listening, the Star Wars franchise could use a little love too. I guess what I'm saying is, help us, Obi Tom. You're our only hope. Dean, how did our... Oh, it gets worse. Dean, how did our contestants do?
Juan got 2 out of 3 questions right, so you win our prize!
Thank you so much for playing our game, and I hope everything works out with the tow truck. And now, panel, time for some questions. Now, just like the original game, panelists may ask for hints on questions except during the lightning fill in the blank round. Dean, who will Chris Hartman be playing for?
Chris Hartman will be playing for Melissa Garber.
Alrighty. So you got 2 chances to win our prize.
Okay.
And Chris, How to Train Your Dragon director Dean DeBlois has signed on for a remake of what beloved pirate movie? It's the film that made every pirate after it have a Western Cornish accent.
Yep. R.
Pilgrim.
I never pictured John Wayne as Long John Silver, but there we are.
Honestly, I'm Nick Clark, yes. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Not quite. You're looking for Treasure Island. Alrighty, yes, the film that left every pirate speaking with a Cornish accent returns to biggest screens at Universal now. I'm just glad nobody ever did an animated version set in space or anything.
Hey, that was good.
Dean, who will Richard Lee Byers be playing for?
Gina Robles.
Alrighty, so you have 2 chances to win, Gina.
1.5.
Yeah. Richard, Intergalactic Mercenaries, the Jadoon, return to Doctor Who for season 12. They're best known for looking like what? They're horny.
They look like calves.
They look like some sort of ungulate. We were looking for rhinoceros. And Dean, who will Jack Faber be playing for?
Blank, because nobody else signed up.
All right, would anyone like Jack to play for them?
Sure, Jack can play for me.
Cool, you may win one of our voices while not doing anything at all.
I'm sorry.
All right, Jack, because you're both panelists and are not my job guest, you'll have the chance to win our prize for 2 separate contestants. Standard disclaimer, if contestants are conjoined, they do not have to be surgically separated. Dean, who will Shannon Mayer be playing for as a panelist?
Sign me up.
Shannon Mayer will be playing for blank again. We need somebody.
Me.
Okay, Shannon Mayer will be playing
Cool.
for Marnie.
Alrighty. Well, Jack, according to a Cambridge University study, what's one reason some monkeys scream louder than others?
Now stop monkeying around. Give me a clue. Come on.
Perhaps they're compensating for something. I think Shannon knows the answer to this.
You know the answer to this?
I don't know an answer, but it's
Okay, no, how about this?
Oh, one of those. Okay, it's these.
Actually, it's pairs of those.
So they really do have balls.
Yes.
Here's my answer.
Yeah, I'll give that a close up. Smaller testicles.
See, there you go. We got it.
teamwork.
Probably not the last time we'll ever say that on Wait Wait. And now to finish out our round, Shannon Mayer. I'm gonna pull a lightning question because I didn't pull it up into the main section. So, your question is: this season, Arthurian villainess blank antagonizes the young heroes from Marvel's Runaways.
I would say,
And you'd be right.
hey, you've seen the show.
Alrighty. Oh, that one is. Well, I'll be using that one later.
Okay.
All right, it's time for a Bluff the Audience game where our panelists each tell our contestant a story from this year's fandom-related news, and our lucky contestant has to figure out what happened and which stories happen to be rubbish. Dean, who's our contestant?
Somebody else blank.
Do we have a volunteer? Cool.
And your name?
Judy Demas. All right, well, Judy, we're having you play our game that this time we're calling.
This time we're calling Come for the Movies and the Swap Meet, Stay for the Alien Visitation.
There aren't many drive-in theaters left on this planet. Most of them have to host other events between movie showings to stay afloat. We found a story about drive-ins this year that was so interesting that we made up 3 more. If you can guess which one really happened, you win our prize. And now with our first story, here's Chris Harbin.
Well, once a ghost town, an empty field in a quiet valley that attracted a handful of cars at most. The Mahoney Drive-In Theater was alive with skeletons, children, mummies, and dogs on a recent Friday night. Frankenstein's monster and Wolfman chatted behind a car at the desk, then got into character and shuffled off into the growing dark for photos with the public. Virgil Catamone, 36, was one of the drive-in's co-owners, and was as joyous as Dr. Frankenstein when he shouted, "It's alive!" in the 1931 horror classic, because the cars kept pouring in through the ticket gate. This place is a magnet for strange, he said, and we embrace that. It's people who love nostalgia and love a drive-in. It's now become a bankable, marketable thing. Hollywood has run on nostalgia and reboots, but the idea of capturing your youth, you can't duplicate that better than a drive-in.
So from Chris Harbin, the story of a Pennsylvania drive-in that lets its audience bring the movies to life. For our next story, return to Shannon Mayer.
So, while they're often shown films about haunted houses and ghosts, Lakeland, Florida's Silver Moon Drive-In has frequently fielded rumors that the site itself is haunted. Polk County Sheriff's Office Public Affairs Deputy Deborah Nanchette said, "We get 1 or 2 calls a month from people saying that they see weird lights out there after closing time. But what they have to realize is that the last car doesn't usually leave the parking lot until around 1 a.m. And every time we've gone out there after that, it's been kids getting drunk and making shadow puppets on the screens, or someone who fell asleep during a double feature and then woke up to find their battery had died." Spokespeople for the drive-in say that they always make sure people can leave the lot safely, and that usually people only fall asleep when the theater runs something like a Fantastic Four film festival.
So from Shannon Mayer, ghosts at a nearby drive-in who may just be sleepy viewers missing out on bad movies. Lucky devils. Richard Lee Byers has our next story.
The AMC 24 in Elgin, Illinois is not a drive-in theater. It's a megaplex at the end of a mostly empty shopping center. That all changed last February when the gang at the Top Gear Canada had famous Canadian comic Dan Aykroyd guest star on the show. As part of the franchise's famous Big Star Small Car segment, the producers decided to have him take the show's Mazda Speed Mazda 2 on a specially constructed hot lap through the East Elgin shopping center. After making special arrangements with the mall owners and Elgin police, the production team marked off a series of twists and turns through the inside of the massive structure, and then added various displays on the path for Aykroyd to knock over with the car. Better to add to the obvious nod to the famous Aykroyd-Belushi film, The Blues Brothers. What they apparently didn't add were signs for driving enthusiast Aykroyd to slow down when he got to the apex of the
Hairpin turn.
hairpin turn. You guessed it, the Elgin AMC 24. The tiny hatchback plowed through the entrance of the massive cinema after thus providing Aykroyd his first true box office blowout in some time.
Elwood Blues creates a drive-through movie theater. And now to drive us on out of this game, here's a story from Jack Faber.
You heard the urban legend about the drive-in that got hit by a tornado while playing Twister? Well, life has imitated art again. This time, the dateline is in Pasadena, California, home of the Electric Dusk Drive-In, and the California Institute of Technology, also known as Caltech, long haven for high-tech pranksters. When the theater hosted the Screen Geniuses Film Festival, a celebration of cinematic super geeks, the shadowy group of Caltech students, less than impressed with the antics of their protagonist from Real Genius and Revenge of the Nerds, decided to heist a massive screen to show their own parodies of older films. Posing as students of nearby Pasadena City College, the mischief makers installed a wireless device into the digital production system while pretending to do a report on drive-ins for the school newspaper. From there, they had the power to take over at will. and take pointed swipes at old teen comedies. I mean, Revenge of the Nerds has one of the heroes seducing a cheerleader by making her believe he's her boyfriend. Outside the movies, that's a felony. So why reward this on screen? Said one of the pranksters, who said on condition of anonymity, we did a different version where the cheerleader figures it out and got him abducted by aliens. That was the only credible example we could cite. The students apparently were able to escape without consequence, though the theater closed for a full day to allow the owners to secure the projector. The owners are not mad. In fact, viewership stayed steady throughout the bizarre alternative performances. And next year, Caltech has been invited back to show more rarities.
So these are our stories. From Chris Harbin, classic movie fans populated drive-in as classic monsters. From Shannon Mayer, off-screen ghost stories. From Richard Lee Byers, a drive-in theater is created by accident. And from Jack Faber, Caltech pranks a drive-in and gets invited back to do it again. Which of these stories is too good not to be true, Judy?
The drive-through theater.
Are you sure?
Oh, try another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to bring you the correct answer, here's Dean with more of the real story.
Co-owner Matthew McClanahan wants people to have a tactile analog experience. There's a dying off of going. People don't go places anymore. People don't find places to congregate anymore. And that's what we're encouraging, he said. Cassandra Bunk, 38 of Stanhope, New Jersey, brought her daughter, Jocelyn, 7, to camp out for the weekend rather than get a campsite elsewhere or a hotel, both of which are quite expensive. They only play old monster movies, and it's very cool, Jocelyn said. It's cool because they're not really scary.
So Judy, that means that the Pennsylvania drive-in where people get to recreate monster films was the correct story. So unfortunately you didn't win our prize this year, but we do thank you very much for being a good sport and playing our game. Pretty soon we'll ask a clever guest to answer some stupid questions, but first, a few questions for our panel. Jack, Hearstfest, one of the world's largest gatherings of funeral vehicles, has outgrown its hometown of where?
Hearstfest.
Yeah. Where would be an appropriate place for Hearst's
Could be. Why not go for that? Shannon's always right.
Wow.
Yeah, let's go with that.
What's that? You didn't hear me, I whispered it to you.
What did you say? Oh, that's right. Coffin film, yes.
We were looking for Hell, Michigan.
Television.
Oh, yes.
So many hearses were registered that organizers had to move the event 30 miles north of the gates of Fowlerville. Richard, what porcine superhero is finally getting his own comic book again? I seem to be giving you the animal questions this year.
What is that character? Wonder Warthog.
Ah, you're close. You're so close.
Really? It's
Yes.
not Wonder Warthog?
No.
Wonder Warthog.
Peter Porker, the Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, it should be Wonder Warthog.
I agree. The move follows the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, in which Peter Porker had a supporting role. DC, ordinarily I'd ask you to do the same thing with Ambush Bug, but only if you put him in a Wonder Woman or Shazam sequel. I'll wait. Shannon, what country may have to dump radioactive wastewater into the ocean because it's out of space?
Because it's out of space?
Yeah. Japan is correct.
Yes. That was very nice.
I locked my screen because it did. There we go.
There we go.
The water comes from the disaster of Fukushima power plant, which was struck by a tsunami in 2011. Japan, do you want Godzilla? Because this is how you get Godzilla. Chris,
And fight.
what video game legislation is Congress currently considering? It'll affect the pocketbooks of gamers around the country.
Microtransactions.
Yes, regulating loot boxes. Gamers have been complaining for years that paid downloads of random game content have been out of control, but legislators took notice just before Nintendo published Mario Kart Tour for mobile devices, a game that is itself sold separately. And now it's time for us to welcome a guest who's the star of our own staff and send him down a black hole of dumb trivia. Everyone, please welcome Jack Faber. So Jack, how long have you been running LARP for Necronomicon?
What's it? About 15 years?
15 years and 4 hair colors ago.
Yeah, well.
And outside of the live action community, you love something that's a little less sci-fi, but still very physics oriented. You love tennis.
Yes, I do.
In fact, you've been playing for the various leagues in East Hampton and Temple Terrace now for quite some time, and now you've gotten Ian into the,
Yes, I have.
because apparently he didn't need working knees, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Didn't need working knees. They're a waste anyway.
Oh yeah, normally we play softball with the Not My Job guest, but I've known Jack for 15 years, so.
At least.
Oh yeah.
Seems long.
And when you're not doing all that, somehow you find time to do cosplay,
Yes, I
which
do.
is why the blonde hair.
Yes.
You and several other people played the
Good omens.
Good Omens for dramatis personae. So, in honor of the fact that you're willing to go the extra mile for fandom, we've invited you here to play a game we're calling.
You don't have to be crazy to work here. No, wait, you do have to be crazy to work here.
Yeah.
Jack, you created and hosted live action games taking players past the edge of sanity. So we've decided to ask you questions about stories where sanity causes a major character to stick out. Dean, for whom will Jack be playing?
For whoever raises their hand next.
Okay, it's going to be Helen
Helen
Olmack.
Olmack.
Wow.
Alrighty. Jack, are you ready for your first question?
No.
Too bad.
Anyway.
Alrighty. The stoic and silent hero Chell is surrounded by maniacal artificial intelligences and devilish traps in what software series by Valve? Is it A, Half-Life, B, Team Fortress, or C, Portal?
Portal.
Portal is correct.
Give us a guess, Helen.
Valve chief Gabe Newell also seems to have a healthy frame of mind, though he does seem to have a problem saying the number 3.
See, Half-Life didn't come out with Half-Life 3. Portal didn't come out with Portal
Yeah.
3.
Clearly no video gamers in the audience, that's totally
Yeah,
cool.
you have to explain the jokes, they lose all their comedy value.
Moving right along. Here's your second question. The comic book series Normal Man by Jim Valentino traps the title character on a planet where he seems to be the only sane person, and also the only person without A, superhuman powers, B, major phobias, or C, a YouTube channel.
I'm gonna have to guess on this one.
He's called Normal Man.
Yes, so it'll be the first one. Yeah.
Superpowers is correct, yes. In a parody of
Obviously
Superman's...
don't have it.
I'm sorry?
I obviously don't have it. Okay.
Okay. In a parody of Superman's origin story, Norm L is rocketed away from his dying planet Arnold by his father Jerk L to the planet Levram, which is Marvel backwards. The 80s were fun. Here's your last question. Sheriff Jack Carter takes over as the sheriff and, by default, only sane person in the town of Eureka, a top-secret community populated entirely by A, brilliant scientists, B, supernatural creatures, or C, former secret agents.
We're going to go with A, brilliant scientists.
That is correct. Sheriff Jack keeps the peace in a town that yields innovative but dangerous new devices for Global Dynamics, a government contractor, but the geniuses who create them are often even more innovative and dangerous. Dean, how did Jack Faber do?
Jack got 3 questions out of 3, and if you know him, that's shocking to everyone in the room. And so, Helen, you win our prize.
Alrighty. Jack Faber is a longtime Stonehill member who we picked on for years. He's also run the LARP department at Necronomicon for quite some time. Thank you very much for playing our game. Stick around because we've got more questions for you.
Oh, goody.
Up next, Dean conquers the Rhymulan Empire. But first, a few questions for our panel. Chris, NASA has managed to capture satellite imagery of an ice avalanche where? An ice avalanche.
Ice avalanche?
Yes.
Mars.
That is absolutely correct. We tried contacting NASA to see if they could get satellite imagery of what would happen if we got a sponsor, but they said they didn't have any satellites orbiting hell.
Oh.
Nor Hell, Michigan, apparently. Jack, Mattel courted controversy after announcing a new Barbie doll commemorating what Mexican holiday?
Day of the Dead.
That is correct. Richard, scientists at LIGO, not Lego, LIGO, Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, have detected possible ripples in what? I did not grade these questions based on experience with the game show. It just seems that way.
Is it space time?
Yes!
Okay.
I got one!
The ripples surrounded a collapsing neutron star and may signal that we'll get a sponsor after all. Shannon, set in a picturesque Colorado resort hotel with a bone-chilling secret, the 4K remaster of what movie is coming to a theater near you? The Shining is correct. Great questions, panel. All right, coming up, we wrap everything up with a lightning fill in the blank. But first, it's time for our ludicrous limerick challenge, where if you can fill in the missing word or phrase from 2 out of 3 of our limericks, you win our prize. Dean, who is our lucky limerick contestant?
The next person that raises their hand.
You've already gone, Helen. Let someone else take a shot.
You don't have to do it all. I can answer questions this time.
I'll try it. But
Okay.
Technically, it's competed. Because Chris competed for me.
All right. Arthur Dykeman. All righty. Well, Arthur, how are you?
Oh, fine.
And you're from Orlando. You also do work for another convention, don't you?
Yes, I operate the reader room for the Oasis convention run by the Honorary Science Fiction Society.
That's right. Also one of our most inveterate Doctor Who fans. He was a Doctor Who fan like me when all the sets were cardboard. So, last year.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so this year, since we're close to Halloween and the Day of the Dead, we've decided to give the challenge the theme of drive-in horror. Here's your first limerick.
We know the cure for ennui, fear, because ungulates might chew on me here. From New York to Nevada, they drank some bad water, so campers must watch out for.
Rhymes with ennui, fear, and on me here. Okay, we're looking for zombie deer. That's right, a variant of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which causes brain tissue to degenerate, has hit deer in 24 states across the U.S., resulting in the antlered creatures drooling, shambling around the forest, and becoming more aggressive. Coming soon from AMC, The Prancing Dead. Here's your next limerick.
After shutting them down as a safeguard, Google buried some software that failed hard. For this Halloween, it's so spooky on screen, their dead products are now in a...
Where would you normally find dead things?
Graveyard?
Yes, that's correct. This year, Google decided to poke a little fun at themselves by tweeting a picture of the virtual cemetery with a bunch of digital headstones with logos of disappointments like Orchid, Google Wave, and the much-lamented Google Reader, and the completely unlamented Google Plus.
Yep.
Quite a few are projected to come, including Google Hire, Google Bulletin, and Google your last shred of privacy for the foreseeable future. Dean, let's have the last limerick of the game.
A brand new and frightening theory explains some MRSA strains here, yeah. This finding will shock us, cause Enterococcus can help immunize some.
It's something you would ordinarily be vaccinated from, and it rhymes with theoria and heria.
Influenza?
I know what you're looking for, but that works.
It doesn't technically. It's a completely different strain.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, it's a non-viral microbe. We'll say that.
I'm not getting it.
Okay, we were looking for bacteria.
I thought you were looking for diphtheria.
Ah, no. Diphtheria is also viral. Anyway, in conclusion, vaccines work. And how does contestant do?
Arthur got 1 out of 3 correct, so sadly, Arthur, you do not win our prize.
But we will still be back at Oasis next year. And we hope you come back to Necronomicon every year as well. Now it's time for our lightning fill in the blank round, and it's time for our winning panelists to capture a prize from one lucky contestant. You'll each have 1 minute from the time I ask the first question. Dean, what are our scores?
Currently, Shannon has 3 points. Jack has 2 points. Richard has 1 point, as does Chris.
All right, so we're going to roll a d20 to determine who goes first, between Richard and Chris. I wish I had a phone d20, I didn't. So,
We can do rock, scissors, paper.
okay, that works.
1, 2, 3, throw. Chris, 1, 2, 3, throw.
Oh, rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. 1, 2, 3, throw. You're supposed to.
All right. So Chris, you'll go first. You'll have 60 seconds from the time I start the first question. Are you ready? You do, please. Despite the end of the parent company in 2013 and only one remaining store, blank demoed a board game at TwitchCon this year. We're looking for Blockbuster Video. For the first time in its history, Master Thief Blank will make the acrobatic leap from manga and anime to CGI. Yes. The BBC reported that NASA is looking into the first known instance of blank in space. Crime. An episode of Stranger Things features a 2014 computation of blank, even though this season is set in 1985. The episode of Stranger Things this year features a 2014 computation of blank. Well, screw it. Blank was unable to answer simple questions about his character in the recently opened Joker movie.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes, that's correct. Warner Brothers is in talks with Jonah Hill to play a villain in the upcoming Blank reboot. Batman is correct. I didn't. Oh, we're at time. How many did Chris get?
Chris got 4 right, giving him a total of 5.
Oh, 8 more points because these are 2 points each.
Oh, okay, never mind. He got 8 points for a total of 9.
And that puts him in the lead as we go to Shannon. Actually, no, we go to Richard. I'm sorry.
If Perry, you want me to do the timer? I mean, I can then do the gong sound effect. You did that
Oh, if you got the gong.
No, I'm just gonna do.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
it's
San
a minute,
Miguel
right?
the bomb. That's weird. Okay.
So it's a minute, right?
Ow. Yeah, go ahead, Lenny.
Okay, sure.
All right. All right. Veteran actor Sid Haig, a blaxploitation actor, recently famous for appearing in the films of Blank, just passed away at the age of 80.
Rob Zombie film.
That's correct. Search giant Google recently announced that it had made a major advance in blank computing.
Quantum computer.
Correct. Simpsons creator Matt Groening's animated fantasy sitcom Blank released season 2 on Netflix last month. That is correct. HBO fantasy epic Blank took home the best drama award in the usual.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is correct. A man blamed Blank for a $70 adult pay-per-view order that showed up on his DirecTV bill.
I'm sorry.
A man blamed Blank for a $70 adult pay-per-view order that showed up on his his dog. Rushing to hug Chris Evans, Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi accidentally blank. Oh, rushing to hug Chris Evans, Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi accidentally blank. Destroyed the set of the interview. Actor Aaron Eisenberg, who played the Ferengi Nog on Blank, died suddenly last month at the age of 50. Last question. Actor Aaron Eisenberg, who played the Ferengi Nog on Blank, died suddenly last month at the age of 50.
Oh, Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Correct. All right, so how many did Richard get, Dean?
Richard got 5 questions correct, giving him 10 points for a total of 11.
And lead. All right, so now we're over to Jack. Again, time begins when I start the first question.
Oh, I thought it's what, you finished the first question, okay. So.
Close enough. All right. Screenwriter David Koepp claims that this on-again, off-again 5th installment of the Blank franchise is back on again. This one's to Jack.
Yeah, this one's to me. I
All
know.
right.
She's my lifeline.
As a staff member, I'm required to say no.
You only have a minute.
Say it one more time.
Okay. Screenwriter David Koepp claims this on-again, off-again 5th installment of the Blank franchise is back on again.
I don't
Indiana Jones.
Really?
September 22nd featured a Batman crossover where multiplayer online game Blank turned part of its Tilted Town map into Gotham City.
I'm not very good.
Yeah.
Yes, we know that. I'm gonna go a negative number.
Okay, that was Fortnite was what we're looking for. The Wes Craven.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yes, Jack, you got
All
that.
right, so the lead stays with Richard Lee Byers as we move to Shannon. Shannon, the Wes Craven estate has recovered control of the Blank character from the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Freddy Krueger is correct. Available for Mac, PC, and Nintendo Switch, Untitled The Blank game lets the main character waddle, honk, peck, and steal carrots.
Oh, I know this one.
Goose. Penny Dreadful City of Angels creator Lynn Shay said the new show was inspired by Blank. Donald Trump. Former Blank lawyer John Kirby, who inspired the Kirby video games, died this year at 79.
Okay.
Nintendo. Fast food chain Blank started up a new dating simulator starring the Colonel. That's correct. And not to be outdone, competitor Wendy's published a paper and dice Blank called Feast of Legends.
Oh, I don't.
RPG. Disney is preparing another Blank reboot of Inspector Gadget. Last question. Yeah, you still can say it's the last question. Disney is preparing another Blank reboot of Inspector Gadget.
Another Blank reboot?
Yes.
Oh,
Is it happening?
I had a company for a reboot.
You know, we are an adult crowd.
Is it live action?
Live action is correct.
Audience gets 2 points.
Yeah, there you go. So they tied Jack. All right, so Dean, what were our final scores?
Well, Shannon answered 2 questions correct, giving her a total of 7 points. So Richard is our winner.
All right.
Richard was playing for Gina Robles, so Gina, you win our prize.
Yes. See us after the show. Also, if you have been a previous Wait Wait winner and have not gotten your voicemail, please see one of us after the show. We'll be happy to do it for you. In just a few moments, we're going to ask each of our panelists our prediction this year what new live local events will bring on the renaissance of drive-in theaters. In the meantime, we'll say that Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, Stonehill Edition, was produced by Brunsworks Productions and in association with Stonehill and Morris, Secret Mistress of Fandom. Our engineer is the acoustics of this room. Some guy who lives on Nantucket wrote our limericks. The original theme was composed by B.J. Liederman and will not appear here for legal reasons. This version of Wait Wait Don't Tell Me is written and hosted by Dean and me, Harry Bruns. And now, panelists, what new live local events will bring on the renaissance of drive-in theaters?
Well, the renaissance of drive-in theaters will be brought on by advances in medical technology that keep people living longer and longer, so the people that love drive-in theaters will be sticking around, combined with anti-gravity technology, which will allow flying cars to visit drive-ins in the sky. A wonderful experience that we marred only when some forgetful senior absentmindedly turns off his engine and the car plummets on whatever lifeless individual is below.
All righty.
To say nothing of forgetting to turn off their turn signal.
Yes. Chris Harbin.
Well, my initial answer would be a zombie apocalypse, but actually possibly VR. You don't have to attend one. You just put on the glasses and you're there virtually.
That works.
Therefore, if you actually drive through, you just take off the goggles.
Yes. Jack Faber.
You just took my answer. But that's fine. We've got to go for that other one. I like the hover one. Let's do holographic screens where you can actually be part of the action.
Very cool. And Shannon Mayer.
When you said live local events, I thought something very specific. There's a gentleman's club just down the road here, and I thought, well, they're putting on a live local event and handing out little blue pills. And boy, where was your first experience with your favorite person in the drive-in theater? So I think that there'll be a resurgence as those little blue pills get handed out.
So Viagra and strippers at drive-ins.
Whoa! Well, that's terrifying. Dean?
Well, if any of those amazing predictions come true, we'll ask you about it next year on Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, the Necronomicon edition.
Yes, thank you very much to our panelists for being such great sports, to our contestants for answering our idiotic questions, and thank you all in the audience for being here and putting up with our bad jokes. See you again next year or Oasis.